guys have been on my case ever since the announcement was first made. Every now and then I just kept getting messages that, hey, Mohun Bagan is merging with ATK. When are we gonna have a podcast about it? I wrote a column on thefangarage.com, but that was not enough. You wanted a long form discussion about what it means for the club. What's the direction it's gonna take for the future? Is it gonna preserve the identity? Or is this some kind of a corporate encroachment of what we have held dear all these years? And all this time, I just kept delaying discussion on this topic. Because from where we were at that time, it would all have to be based on speculation. And while this podcast has never been shy of speculating, this time I just could not bring myself to do it. I don't know where this quote comes from, but I have always liked it. Perspective is a matter of privilege. It's like if you're looking at a battle taking place from a drone footage, you have one perspective of what's happening. But if you're down on the ground and the bullets are flying all around you and you are in real danger of getting hit and dying, then you are looking at the battle in a very different way. And if in that moment somebody asks you to leave your perspective of just trying to survive the moment and imagine yourself as the person viewing that same battle through a drone footage and achieve that wider perspective that that person has, you would think that's an absurd proposition. Because there are some situations in our lives where there is a concern so pressing that we do not want to move past it just for the sake of finding a philosophical higher ground. That's how it was with me for Mohun Bagan, the club that I have loved for longer than I can remember. And while I fully understand that corporate management is the way to go, in fact, that's what I've been demanding ever since McDowell left. Everything about this current deal, which is being touted as a merger, it hinged on a question that had nothing to do with the ones and zeros of vanilla corporate financing. It was a question of preserving Mohun Bagan's identity and heritage. It was about showing respect to the love and dedication that Mohun Bagan fans have had for the club for more than a century. The only problem was that nobody could write down a prescription of exactly how to go about doing that. Because what we are talking about is ultimately love, unconditional love that is not dictated by logical means. The heart wants what it wants, and in this case, it wants Mohun Bagan. It wants the terrible tea of the Maidan. It wants the long walks down Goshtopal Sharoni. It wants rain. It wants mud. It wants uncomfortable hours spent on very congested bleachers. We don't love Mohun Bagan because we want something from it. We don't love it because of the players, because of the coach, because of the officials, because of the branding, because of the market value, because of the ticket price, because of the trophies, because of the glamour. Nothing. We love it because it's a reflection of us, how we have been, how we are, and how we will be. In a world where nothing is certain, where a war, where natural disasters, riots, a virus, anything can come at any time and turn your entire livelihood upside down. What Mohun Bagan provides is a symbol of continuity. There is something comforting about imagining our grandparents or great grandparents going to the same ground, waving the same flag with the same emblem, and watching 11 players take to the field wearing the same colors. There is some sense of pride in knowing that when you are holding up the Mohun Bagan badge, you're not only expressing support towards the players who are playing for the club today, but also the players who have dedicated their lives towards the club and the country for more than a century. From Shivdas Bhaduri to Goshtopal to Shoilen Manna to Chuni Goswami, all of them live on through that badge. It reflects their life's work. And so do we. We live on as fans when we pass the torch of fandom to the next generation. That's why it has been so difficult all this time to address the prospect of Mohun Bagan transitioning into an ISL team. Here's a competition that's not very old and it has reimagined the administration of a football league in line with proven commercially successful formulas of the 21st century. It's oriented towards reaching out to the larger populace to create new fans. In fact, its success depends on it. It's a harbinger of radical change off the pitch, while it's reluctant to change from its comfortably established formulas of what the fans should get to see on the pitch and on their screens. That's why often when fans of the old clubs interact online or in person with fans of the new franchises, it often seems like they're speaking two different languages. It's like they see the sport in two very distinct different ways. And when you're talking about perspectives so vastly different that even fans find it hard to find common ground, at that time, Mohun Bagan officials engaging in a long discussion with the owners of ATK about how they could find a mutually agreed path on which to move towards the future. It's fascinating because while they were talking about finding a balance, there was nothing balanced about the possible outcomes they were looking at. It was either going to go very well or very badly. There was no way they could find a middle ground to support quote unquote both sets of fans. And despite my biased perspective on this, I do not by any means assume this to be an easy choice. As the talks were progressing, so was the pandemic, and the announcement was getting delayed again and again. It should have happened around mid April, but ultimately it took until July to unveil the fruit of their labor. And looking at what they have come up with, do I think that they have been successful? I would say yes. As long as there is no subsequent manipulative move like putting the ATK logo somewhere on the Mohun Bagan jersey, I would say what they have come up with exceeds expectations. And this should not be seen as victory of one side or defeat of another. It's a collective effort that, by whatever means, has found the right path for them to move forward. Do I agree with the choice of name? I think ATK Mohun Bagan is an acceptable compromise for now. But where I think they have really knocked it out of the park is the logo and the jersey colors. By retaining green and maroon and majority of the elements of the traditional Mohun Bagan emblem, what they have ensured that when you're looking at the jersey or the logo, it immediately passes the eye test that informs you whether or not this is the Mohun Bagan you have always loved that you're looking at. And I don't think you can minimize in any way what the board has accomplished. Credit goes to everybody involved, Mr. Sanjiv Goenka most of all, the tireless efforts of Debashish Dotto and Srinjoy Bose, the insights from Mr. Raghu Iyer, Utsav Parekh, Saurav Ganguly, everybody who was involved in the process. And I think props have to be given to FSDL as well because we know that a franchisee cannot take such a big decision without having the blessings of the league organizers. And while there are Mohun Bagan fans who are pissed at having ATK being added as a prefix, who are angry about the foundation year of 1889 not being present in the new logo for the football team, and those who will accept nothing less than a 100% representation of the pure Mohun Bagan identity, most of the fan base, I believe, has welcomed this, as they should. Because having a major investor like RPSG is never a one way street. They're doing this for a reason and they have shown goodwill in taking a few steps towards us by upholding our identity. So it's now incumbent upon the fans to reciprocate that and reward them financially for displaying their trust in us. And as for your remaining doubts over the identity of this team or whether or not we can regain a reflection of the Mohun Bagan identity in the classical sense on this football team, we will discuss all that in due course in this podcast. But first, instead of sticking to a monologue, I want to bring somebody else into the conversation. If you are a Mohun Bagan fan who's active on social media platforms, you know this man. His name is Sumanta Chakraborty. He has been a lifelong Mohun Bagan fan. He's a member, he goes to the matches regularly. He has sung multiple songs about the club, including one called Champions in the newly released documentary about Mohun Bagan's I League triumph that came out a couple of months ago. And not only that, he has also written on the fangarage.com about the upcoming Mohun Bagan RPSG deal. In fact, not long ago, he wrote an open letter to Mr. Sanjiv Goenka that went viral among the Mohun Bagan communities on various social media platforms. So let's discuss with him what has happened and where things will go from here. So, firstly, Sumanto, your reaction. Are you happy with what happened?
Uh, Very happy, I can say. Absolutely delighted. Uh,
Why are you like so happy when so many people are just terrified that there's no 1889 written on the logo and there's an ATK? prefix added to the club's name.
1889 is the year when Mohun Bagan Club was formed. Okay. Now Mohun Bagan has been glorified to the different generation in different avatars. Now,
Mm.
in case of Mohun Bagan Athletic Club's logo, that 1889 will be there. But when it has formed a football company who actually represents Mohun Bagan in the different national and international competition, there that since 1889 cannot be there. If you see our 2018 logo, 2019 logo, where we have played I League with Mohun Bagan Football Club India Private Limited, there also it was not written that it is from 1889. The people who are telling it now, I seriously doubt how many of our people, means mariners, are telling it. It is basically some our neighbors, some a faction of our neighbors. We will not say our neighbors, all of our neighbors. It is a faction of our neighbors are basically instigating our people with different small things, and some of us who are not that much of aware or educated about the entire process, the legal concept of it, how the things run, they are getting what can I say? That they are getting very much influenced by it because, but I think this is a temporary thing. Once the team gets onto the ground, दूध का दूध पानी का पानी तो हो ही जाएगा.
So you have been a Mohun Bagan supporter for how many years now?
Since my birth, and I think first match of Mohun Bagan I have witnessed in 1989 or 1990, and first match in the stands 1998, that diamond match, Mohun Bagan versus East Bengal Derby in Salt Lake
97,
Stadium.
I think.
97, yeah, 97. 1,31,000 crowd. We lost that unfortunately 1-4, but that was my first experience.
No, I asked you this question to establish your experience with the club. You have been going to the matches, you've been following, you're pretty much brought up in that culture. So,
Yeah,
since with those decades of experience of living within Mohan Bagan community,
yeah,
you look at this logo, you look at this team, you look at the jersey that was held up by Sanjiv Goenka, and you're hearing what they are saying, the ATK Mohun Bagan officials,
mm,
and you identify this entity, this club, as the Mohun Bagan you have always loved.
yes, I do, I do. I will not be honest if I say that I had a kind of apprehension that if ATK gets added, if the ATK name gets
Mm,
added as a prefix of Mohun Bagan, because I always wanted that it should be as a suffix. That
mm,
is MBATK, anything, Mohun Bagan, anything, that doesn't matter actually. But later on, when I see the total package,
mm.
frankly speaking, I didn't expect the logo to be totally intact
Yeah,
like this. This is mind blowing. The logo which has come out, this, this is mind blowing along with the green and maroon color. Which to me, a club is being symbolized by its color, not the
yeah.
jersey. I would like to specify here. It's the color of the club along with the crest of the club.
Mm,
Now, color and crest 100% unchanged with a merger ratio of 20 is to 80.
yeah.
This was unthinkable, and my thanks to the new management, my thanks to the members of old management who were there. uh, I I'm really very much honored that they have understood the sentiments of Mohun Bagan fans. They have understood the sentiments of Mariners. Now, if you are going for a 80-20 kind of thing, so one, two, or three letters of a brand of a promoter you have to accept as a prefix or suffix whatsoever. It will not matter that much on the ground, because when we will chant for like last 30 years, last 130 years, we will chant like Joy Mohun Bagan.
Yeah.
Nobody will say Joy ATK Mohun Bagan. We never said
Yeah,
Joy
nobody.
McDowell. Nobody. We never said Joy McDowell Mohun Bagan. Did we?
Yeah.
Never. We never said that. We always said the Joy Mohun Bagan, and it is as it is. And I'm
Yeah.
very happy, and it's a forward-looking approach for the club.
Yeah, I was actually pleasantly surprised as well because when I heard they were going to design the logo with some firm has been hired and new samples are arriving, 5 or 6 different versions, I was expecting a bit more, or not expecting, I was a bit worried about
Well,
too much creativity, quote unquote, being
yes,
introduced into the logo, which I did
all
not
of
want at
us,
all.
all of us, all
Yeah,
of
but
us.
even if you look at the whole form of the crest that we have now,
Mhm.
even the McDowell Mohan Bagan logo had more differences. Like the boat looked different, the boatman looked different, the sail looked different, the oar looked different, the water looked different. This one is way more close to the original than there was, and I think
Yes,
that was,
yes, yes.
yeah.
That was I was just going to say that if you see that McDowell Mohun Bagan logo, that McDowell Mohun Bagan logo is not actually closely resembled the original one, but
Mm,
this one or the one we are using for last 2 3 years, the logo has been evolved. Logo has
mm,
minor change here and there was always there every year as per the name of the sponsor, as per the name of the footballing entity which is actually representing. It has changed, and this one resembles more as the original logo, and I think this actually protects the heritage more rather than
mm.
whatever was there. And even if you see the McDowell Mohun Bagan logo, I think one extra circular border was there in that
Yeah.
logo as far as I remember. So that time nobody has told anything because none of us has none of I think no external force or anybody has put that in the mind of Beniners that this is going to be changed or this is a
Yeah.
changed thing. This change portion has been actually planted in the mind. So
Mm,
that is why whenever there is some change, the person who may have not checked it for last 30 years or 35 years, they have not seen even the what actually is the how many borders are there in the logo. Now they are seeing every letter.
yeah.
And one more thing, Chiranjit, I just want to tell you that in this logo, if you minutely see, you will see the Mohun Bagan. It is a 10-letter word, right?
Mm,
And the entire center circle of the logo is being captured by that Mohun Bagan. If you just give a glance towards this logo, your vision will be fixed at Mohun Bagan. It will not
mm,
be in the three letter of ATK in the extreme left corner or in the football club that is the extreme right corner. It is in the center stage, and it actually carries the heritage and tradition and legacy what we are talking about.
mm.
This is too good.
Yeah, so one of the things, like me being from a small town and going back to the Mohun Bagan grounds in 2012 and
Mhm.
sort of starting anew after being absent for a long time from Kolkata.
Yeah.
And what I experienced was that people call the gallery like it's they say it's full of hooligans and extremist people and all that stuff, but what I
Yes.
found was that the community that I found in the gallery was very welcoming. Like no one knew me, like you didn't know me, none of the friends that we have made over the last 8 years knew me, and I wasn't even from there. No one even asked me what my name was. All it took was that, okay, you're a Mohun Bagan fan? Okay, me too. And all of a sudden there is a bond, right? And
Yes.
it's
Yes.
a very welcoming community. It doesn't ask where you're from, what your past is, what your name is, what kind of
Yes. Yes.
heritage you're coming from, or community you're coming from. So
Yes.
it was always there as a
Yes.
welcoming community. So
E-
right now
Mhm.
that we have seen Sanjiv Goenka come out and
Yeah.
say some very good words about the Mohun Bagan fans and the importance of having those fans and the community at large.
Yeah.
Do you
Mhm.
think it's incumbent on our fans to make him feel just as welcome as the new fans that come to the ground?
Yes, of course, of course. With this connection, I would like to tell you one thing that I have also experienced that similar thing with what you told.
Hmm.
Since childhood, I was there in different parts. I have studied while traveling to different parts of India and West Bengal because of my father's transferable job. And after that, also for my service purpose, I was in different part of India. So I had different batches of friends during my entire life till the time in 2010 when the WhatsApp actually gets popularized. A Mohun Bagan WhatsApp group was the first common platform which I was in with the fellow mariners. Okay.
Hmm.
And there were 10, 13, 14, 15 guys. Now, today in 2020, that WhatsApp group of 15 people are my closest buddies, as
Hmm.
against the so many school friends, college friends, service colleagues, whosoever I mingled during my entire career. So that is the power of Mohun Bagan. And secondly, what you have talked about, Mr. Goenka, yes, Mohun Bagan crowd, or if you can say Mohun Bagan, not Mohun Bagan crowd, Mohun Bagan, East Bengal, both crowd, the Bengalis, in fact, they are
Hmm.
very emotional. They they take the sport very emotionally. Even if not only football, if you have seen in cricket also that emotional nature gets exposed in 1996 Eden when India lost the semi-final against Sri Lanka. That entire ruckus happened, or the passion towards Saurav Ganguly, who is now the board of director, who is now in the board of director of Mohun Bagan. Those all are a expression of boundless emotion. So when they accept someone, there is actually no part acceptance. They
Hmm.
just give their everything. So as Mr. Goenka has basically walked the talk, whatever he said on the very first day, that he knew what Mohun Bagan is. He is the lifetime member of Mohun Bagan. His father was member of Mohun Bagan, and he will never disrespect this club. He will never disrespect the emotion of the fans and the members. He had done this. He actually had proved that. Now that he
Hmm.
had proved, I don't think there will be any more reasons why Mohun Bagan crowd or the Mariners will not embrace him. Due to COVID 19, you may not see it openly in the stands or anything for the near future. But once the gates are open, it will be madness to an another level. I'm damn sure about that.
So we have seen new way of Mohun Bagan fans expressing their loyalty to the club, be it just making the merchandise trend at number one on Amazon,
Wow,
or
that was
be it
brilliant. Huh?
yeah, and or just posting their pictures with those jerseys and just make holding virtual celebrations. I mean, right after
Chiranjit,
the
that was
yeah.
long due because merchandise was a long demand of Mohun Bagan fans. Rather, Mohun Bagan officials were a bit skeptical that with 500, 600 rupees of price, whether it will be, matlab Mohun Bagan fans will go for it online or not, whether this entire structure will work for not. As you know, that Mohun Bagan is not basically a football club. It is an emotion and passion in the
Mm,
Bengal, and it touched even the bottom of the pyramid, and it is having its members and supporters and fans from the top executive CEO, CFOs of different multinational companies. So all the stratas of the society is engulfed by Mohun Bagan fans. Okay, so
mm,
now uh, there was a what can I say? Mohun Bagan officials are a bit skeptical about whether a mass, if we call the mass people who are the main strength of Mohun Bagan, will go for it or not. But now what had happened is,
mm,
I believe it's history, and
yeah.
whatever news we are having unofficial, that even Barcelona or Juventus jersey, the number of Barcelona Juventus jerseys sold
Mm,
from the Amazon ever is less than what the number of Mohun Bagan jerseys sold in 2 or 3 days, in every day 2 hour means 5 or 6 hours. That is
Yeah.
quite outstanding, and uh, I am very happy that Mr. Goenka had also understood that emotion part,
Mm.
and it is now in the very professional hands. It's in the safe professional hands, and it has an immense potential. If Mr. Goenka wants, he may actually uh, ex- matlab it's a green field where he can
Yeah.
do anything.
I think you can raise the players' salaries just by merchandise sale.
No, no, he is the, I think, except Tata and JSW, he is the only franchisee in ISL who hasn't reduced the entire budget of his football
Yeah.
team, even during this COVID-19 pandemic. It's a once in a century phenomena, and everybody is hit. But
Yeah, I mean, just by staying in touch with some of the people who were in like formerly ATK franchisee, now it's Mohun Bagan. They have
formerly
been,
ATK fans, ATK fans exist.
oh,
Okay,
yeah,
good.
it doesn't exist anymore. It's Mohun Bagan now.
No, no, I'm
But
not. Okay, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, tell me.
yeah. So these are the people who used to be ATK and now they're Mohun Bagan, the officials basically.
Hmm.
Some of
Hmm.
them have been working on specific development projects that concerns Mohun Bagan for a long time. It's
Okay,
for example, there has been specific talks with Antonio Habas about the
okay.
Mohun Bagan ground, and they have
Hmm.
been discussing the width of the pitch, right?
Okay.
And
Okay.
how it they need to do some repair work so that the pitch is made more wide so that it can become usable for actual match practice
Yes,
or maybe
yes,
even matches, right?
yes.
And I
We
think
the fans know it from very beginning that because of this deficiency, the AFC matches or other matches, I-League standard matches couldn't be held in the Mohun Bagan ground. But
mm,
if it can be staged in Mohun Bagan ground, the atmosphere becomes electric,
yeah,
because as it's a jam, it becomes 25,000, 26,000 capacity, and in any day you have a Mohun Bagan ISL match or a Mohun Bagan CFL match or a Mohun Bagan AFC match, it will be a blockbuster for sure.
yeah.
It will be sold out crowd.
So, I mean, what I think is that 25,000 is a low target for Mohun Bagan right now because, especially the first few seasons, and I think in perpetuity, probably, our
Hmm.
average is going to be about 45, 50,000
40,
in
40
ISL.
to 45 minimum, because
Yeah.
25 to 30 we registered every match without
In
uh,
CFL.
in CFL without any slightest branding. There was no
And
branding at all.
3 p.m. kickoffs.
And 3 p.m. kickoffs on match day,
Yeah.
on a
Wednesday,
working day,
Tuesday.
on a match
Yeah.
day is a working day.
Yeah.
So now that the ISL matches will be on weekends, that is at 7 p.m. This is like although we have never seen such kind of comfortable match scheduling during last 6 7 years or 10 years at least.
Mm.
uh, we have Chiranjit, I don't know whether you know or not, in 2015 the matches were held at Barasat, not at
Yeah. Yeah.
YBK.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
used to go.
yes, 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 because of that renovation of the Salt Lake Stadium.
Yeah.
And our last two matches were on, I think, 24th May and 18th May, and that was a scorching heat in the summer
Mm.
and on weekdays at
Mm.
4 p.m. or 3:30 p.m. as far as I remember. And we used to
4:30
start
kickoff. Like
4:30
4:30 and
kickoff.
7. So
4:30
4:30
kickoff.
kickoffs. Yeah.
Now Barasat is around 65 kilometer from my home in Kolkata.
Yeah.
So we had to start around 1:30 after lunch in that scorching heat, so that we could reach at 3:30 in the ground. Then the parking and all these things uh, takes another half an hour. So by 4 we could enter. So 1:30 we leave from our house, and we came back home at around 9 p.m. Okay,
Mm.
but this entire journey of 8 hours we never felt that we are having any kind of exhaustion or anything. And when we reached the ground, it was overflowing.
Yeah.
With 23,000 capacity, it was around 28 to 30,000. And everybody, even a person who is actually suffering from fever, suffering from some disease, he is also there because Mohun Bagan is playing at 4:30. So
Yeah.
think about this person. If he gets an opportunity that Mohun Bagan will be playing at 7:30 or 7 p.m. in YBK on the weekend days, what could be the attendance? And with
Yeah.
such a branding of Indian Super League.
Absolutely. I don't think there has ever been, a proper push to market Mohun Bagan, and entire
Never
the
ever,
crowd pull,
never
the
ever.
TRP, everything has been completely organic, and that is something people don't realize about. It's true for Mohun Bagan, East Bengal, and to a
It's
lot of
Bengal
extent
also.
Mohammedan
Huh.
Sporting as well.
Yes, yes. And this is actually a sleeping giant in terms of
Yeah,
marketing and branding. So people do not know, people actually do not know what exactly is the potential.
yeah.
It's a totally organic thing, and with the kind of promotion, glees, glamour the Indian Super League is associated with, if they can actually nurture this potential properly, this can yield them what result we also can't imagine.
I mean, imagine the response there will be to a proper marketing campaign, and big cutouts of players and green and maroon tifos and decorations all over the place
This
and hoardings.
That's fantabulous, man. Roy Krishna in green and maroon. I think it's a super duper hit, blockbuster.
Yeah, let's just hope something like that happens, because that's what we hear. Because we don't know whether our dear neighbors will be able to make it into ISL, but
This year,
what
this year,
this year? Yeah, yeah, this year
how they
whether.
will make it? How they will make it?
I don't know. They
No, I'm
might
not
pull
talking
something
about
out.
actually the sporting rights. Sporting rights is a
Yeah,
different thing. I think that is a temporary phenomenon. They will get it actually. So
yeah,
whatever be their internal problem, they are a too big a club to not have the sporting rights. So this is their internal problem. They will get it.
yeah.
But even if they get it, uh, is it that easy to enter ISL with an investor with a 40-50 crore per year budget? How many corporate companies in India are there right now at this very moment, post Corona, post COVID
Mhm.
19, who can take a risk of investing 40 to 50 crores per year on Indian football, which actually doesn't guarantee any return of investments as on date?
Mhm.
Anyways, these are my apprehension. I don't want to get into their
But
internal matters.
on the flip side, because since we're just speculating on this,
Mhm.
imagine ISL will be on one or two venues. Like they will have two venues, and half the matches here, half the matches there, which
Yes,
means there is not much of an overhead, and
yes.
there is no like police arrangements or anything that that's associated with a match. They
No
don't have to
crowd.
pay
No
extra
crowd.
rent,
Yes.
right? So they
Okay.
can easily fit in East Bengal, and
Okay.
the extra TRP that will bring, because right now they're completely dependent on TRP. It's the
Okay.
people who are
Okay.
watching on TV. So a derby at this
Wow.
time when people are starved for content, and they are looking
Yes.
at, I think IPL level ratings. If they can do a properly promoted derby that's well presented on 16 channels on Star Sports or whatever. So
See,
can you
Chiranjit,
imagine?
if I think the Kolkata Derby has a potential to be the one of the best derbies of not only Asia but of world also.
Hmm.
I sincerely believe no broadcaster, no marketing agency in this country has ever tried to explore the actual potential of a Kolkata Derby. This
Hmm.
is magical, man. Anybody who has once attended a Kolkata Derby, I can guarantee he can't forget that experience for the rest of his life. So it's true, what you said is true, that if they come to Indian Super League and the kind of market, which I am repeatedly saying, the kind of branding and marketing they used to do, this will reach at altogether a different level. But well, we don't know. Right now, they are not here. But
Yeah.
being the neighbor, and of course, East Bengal is one of the iconic clubs in this country. And actually, we respect the rivalry. We cherish the rivalry on field. We are rivals. Off the field, uh, we are. We. I will not say we are friends always, but we are.
That's the understatement of the year.
Yes, yes, yes. So, best wishes to them. I hope they will also find some way to get into ISL this year or next year. I will love if they come as soon as possible, but
Mm.
they have to find a way. And
Yeah,
I
and
think
one of the
time is running out.
yeah, one of the things that somebody pointed out to me when I was talking about, hey, let's put Kolkata
Hmm,
Derby on all over Star Sports and brand it and all that. Somebody
hmm.
pointed out that the biggest attraction of Kolkata Derby is the mad crowd that shows up, and
Yes,
that's not going
yes.
to be there this season. So, is it the right kind of way to introduce the Kolkata Derby on a larger platform to a larger audience when
Hmm,
we cannot capture that crazy
hmm, hmm,
atmosphere that makes the derby what it is? So I know, yeah, it's going to be, it's a touch and go at this moment, which way it goes, but
yes,
sooner or later we will be having it,
yes.
when we're on the other side of this
Uh,
pandemic.
that's also logical, Chiranjit, because the crowd is the main attraction of Kolkata Derby, and unfortunately, because of this situation, I also don't think we will be getting any crowd or any on the stand people for match. It will be mostly behind the closed doors.
Mm,
If it is closed doors, if it is closed doors also, the TRP of that match in TV will be an
mm,
altogether a different level. That
yeah.
also you can be sure. Who knows Sadhana News? You tell me. Who knows Sadhana
Yeah.
News? And the Sadhana TV has become a household name after broadcasting a one season of Calcutta Football League.
Yeah.
Everybody know now what is Sadhana TV. So this is the kind of the thing. People of Kolkata is mad for football, but simultaneously, people of Kolkata has their loyalty towards these two clubs since their birth. It is inherited. You
Yeah.
cannot just you cannot just manufacture it. But
Mm,
no matter how much money you spend, no matter how much um, showcasing you do, it will not help.
yeah.
ATK is the biggest example of that. It will not help.
Mm. We have seen the club change in many ways over the years. Like before, in the early 90s, it was about, okay, let's play CFL, and there's a break in CFL, and everybody goes to play Durand, then they come back and play more CFL, then go play Rovers, then
Mhm,
Side Nagji or Sikkim Gold Cup, something like that, IFA Shield. It was one
mhm,
tournament after another. We saw the National Football League emerge in 1996, and things just changed so drastically
absolutely.
because we had a like full season league to look at. Then I
Mhm,
league came, things became more professional, and we started talking more and more about licensing and youth development and infrastructure development. And we
yes.
had our crisis that the club suffered from for a few years after McDowell left, and now
Mhm,
we are looking at a new era. So
yes.
after looking at everything that we have seen, all the struggle that the club has gone through to
Hmm,
establish themselves in different fields of the sport, now we're looking at a new administration. Now
mhm,
you're looking at a new, so somewhat of a new avatar, as you said, of the club
hmm,
that's
hmm.
taking the field in ISL. So what is your foremost expectation from this?
My foremost expectation is the professionalism because that is exactly the thing which we missed during this entire journey. We never had any dearth of passion, we never had any dearth of emotion until 2018. Uh, though we had a financial struggle, but still we managed to rope in the topmost players of the country. No, we have won I League, we have won Federation Cup, and the foreigners also, they were not a less expensive. They are also a bit expensive. You know, whatever you are
Mm.
also a diehard fan of Mohun Bagan. I know, but the thing is, what we lacked is professionalism. In still, I believe in 2016 we were the best contender for winning the AFC Cup.
Mm.
I seriously believe that was a brilliant team. Though we missed the I League in the very last lap because of 1 point and some bad luck in the last leg of the I League, but that was a team that was super brilliant, of these last 5 6 years, and we were playing so well in the group leagues. Even the commentators of AFC Cup matches, they were actually symbolizing Mohun Bagan as a potential finalist or a potential champion. But due to a bit of lack of professionalism, I will say, as well as the financial burden was way too heavy, there was no other option to the management also to hold a team. Some not so passionate approach was there for nurturing that team for a longer period of time, so that we didn't take quarterfinal or the pre-quarterfinals. I think pre-quarterfinals of AFC that seriously. We six, five or six of our regular players were rested. I think Sony didn't play. Katsumi
Mm.
was also not playing. So still we fought well, but in the extra time we lost.
Yeah.
Uh, I sincerely hope with this management and with this kind of financial backup, this kind of professional setup, this will never happen. If we have a good team, we can have a team for a 12 months, for an entire season. From 2014-15 onwards, that is one thing we had lacked. We
Mm.
always made team of 4 or 5 months. That is only for the I League period, because that is not entirely club's fault. Basically, the Indian football calendar has become a mixed calendar. 3 months for ISL, 4 months for I League. So obviously, a club struggling with financial things, they will try to reduce their budget as much as possible and try to reserve their major players for only 4 and 5 months during the time of I League. That was not that professional. I don't think that was a professional approach. Not the fault of club also only. All
Mm.
the people associated with Indian football had to take the blame. But now that things are getting regularized, things are stabilized, at that very moment of time, my club is getting professional. This gives me immense pleasure.
Okay. Thank you so much for talking to us. And now that we are entering a new phase, new era of Mohun Bagan, and we are looking at a new adventure in ISL,
Yeah.
are you planning to release any song about it?
No, no, not yet, not yet, because uh, you know, I'm professionally also very much busy, and
Yeah.
within 2 to 3 months, once we get ready to step onto a new journey, we'll definitely think of something. Think- And thank you very much,
Absolutely.
the fan garage. Thank you, TFG Football. Thank you, Chiranjit. Thanks a lot for inviting me for this show. Enjoyed a lot.
Thank you, Sumantoda, for being here. And everybody listening, please check out his latest song, Champions. It's available on the official YouTube channel of Mohun Bagan. So now it's time to address your doubts, your concerns, your fears, your apprehensions. I have been getting questions from a number of Mohun Bagan fans in the past couple of days. Now, I have identified three common threads in the questions that the Mohun Baganis have, and I will try to address those here. The first and foremost one is that is this a merger or a takeover? And this is something that Mohun Bagan fans have been hearing everywhere. Either East Bengal fans are saying your club has sold out, or the media is writing that Mohun Bagan has merged with ATK, and the nuances of this development is still not clear to many fans. So let me address this. Is this merger or takeover? In an administrative sense, it's both. It's a takeover by RPSG or KGSPL in this case of the holding company that was running Mohun Bagan's football team. Now, the reason it's necessary to get into the nitty-gritty of this issue is that Mohun Bagan is not shaped like a traditional football club. It's a registered society with multiple sports teams, including an athletic contingent, a cricket team, and a football team. And since in professional football you need to form a holding company that manages your football team, the footballing branch of Mohun Bagan Club or the society was under that private limited company. And it is that private limited company which has been taken over by KGSPL to form this new company which is called the ATK Mohun Bagan Private Limited. That's the takeover part. The merger part is that the new board of directors that has been constituted, it is a merger of the Mohun Bagan football team's old administration and the KGSPL administration. So the football team's holding company has been taken over and the administrations have been merged. Now, what does it mean for the football team? Or specifically the identity of the football team? Well, structurally speaking, this is no different than the Quest and East Bengal deal. And if you break down the shares of the ATK Mohun Bagan Private Limited, it's owned by Sanjiv Goenka is there. He's got 68%, a little bit more than that actually. If you are looking at the decimals, there are some shares owned by Saurav Ganguly, some owned by Utsav Parekh, and a couple of other individuals. Tutu Boshu has a symbolic amount of shares, and there's just less than 20% shares that's registered under the name of Mohun Bagan Club, which is the society. So the distribution of the shares is between some individuals and Mohun Bagan, which leaves no doubt for the fact that this is the football team that's representing Mohun Bagan. Whether Mohun Bagan Society's shares are majority or minority does not matter because we have seen other cases of corporate ownership like this. The closest example would be the Quest and East Bengal example. 70% was owned by Quest. Still, it was always considered to be the team that represents East Bengal. And the case with this Mohun Bagan team is the same. Now somebody might say, well, there is ATK in the name. It's called ATK Mohun Bagan. So how can you be fully confident that it retains the Mohun Bagan identity? Well, let me introduce you to this concept of footballing continuity. It's like what you do on one season affects what happens to you next season. For example, if you're playing in Premier League, if you are in the top three, you play in the Champions League directly. If you're fifth place, you're playing in Europa League. And if you're bottom three, you're going down to the Championship. Your performance dictates your future placement. This, however, is not the case with ISL, where franchisees can be bought and transferred. Mohun Bagan won the I League and it gave them a place at the AFC Cup group stage directly. Now, a place in AFC Cup cannot be transferred, cannot be traded, cannot be assigned. It can only be earned on the pitch. Now, ATK won the ISL playoffs and they did earn themselves a place in the AFC Cup qualifier stage. But we know that that has been vacated because Bengaluru FC got their spot. So it's Mohun Bagan's spot that is being used next year at AFC Cup. There is no doubt about that. So if this team is playing on Mohun Bagan's spot in Asia, then there is no doubt that Mohun Bagan's footballing continuity is being preserved. Therefore, even though there is a prefix that has been added, this team is definitely the Mohun Bagan football team. The next question is what happens to the trophies? Well, the trophies are there. Whatever trophies that Mohun Bagan won is still there with Mohun Bagan, and this team will carry that legacy forward. The decisions that have been taken regarding the logo, the footballing continuity, the colors, all of that makes that part clear. Now, what about ATK's trophies? I think it's a matter of perspective. If you say they apply to this team, maybe you can say that. I personally don't think so, but it's a pure matter of opinion, I would say. We can argue till we are blue in the face and we will not reach anywhere conclusive. What we can look into, however, is the nature of the trophies won by ATK. Now, ATK won the playoffs of ISL 2014, 2016 and 2019-20. They have never finished top of the table, they have just won the playoffs. Now from 2014 to 2016, ISL was just a private tournament that did not have any recognition from AFC. So those three editions of the tournament I don't think matter at all. Now in 2019 ISL became the top league of India, but according to AFC, it's just the league stage of ISL that acts as the top division league of India. And I'm not saying that. AIFF General Secretary Kushal Das told Times of India that AFC is only looking at the league stage of ISL as the top league. That's why FC Goa, who finished top of the table, got the League Winners' Shield, which is now the de facto trophy for the champions of India, and they are getting to play in AFC Champions League, not the team that won the playoffs. So when it comes to AFC, the ISL playoffs are a different competition altogether, and that's what ATK won. Now, while that is no small feat, it's nothing like being champions of the league. And that trophy pales in comparison to Mohun Bagan's NFL and I League trophies, which are undisputed symbols of supremacy. So even if those trophies are there, I don't think they deserve much attention at the moment. If you are a Mohun Bagan fan, you're gonna uphold the identity of your club regardless of prefixes, suffixes, and regardless of who owns the shares of which holding company. And that's about that. Now, the third major question that I got asked was, can the ATK prefix be removed in the future? Well, I don't particularly mind the prefix, but I do understand why many want it gone. And as for how that can happen, well, what I said earlier, it's not a one-way street, this partnership with RPSG. Sanjiv Goenka has shown immense trust and respect towards the Mohun Bagan community by adopting the Mohun Bagan logo and the colors. Now it's time for Mohun Baganis to reciprocate, to let him know, to prove to him that the investment he has made in our identity has not been a mistake, and the benefits that he is reaping from this outweighs any other sporting investment that he has ever made. I think he should be welcomed in the club functions. He should be a part of the club's administration, the working committee, maybe hold a distinguished chair, and become an integral part of the Mohun Bagani community. And if he is securely immersed in the cultural wave of Mohun Bagan, then he will have enough reason to completely embrace the Mohun Bagan identity and remove the ATK prefix in the future. But this is not something that can be done by showing protests or hurling abuses or trying to intimidate him, because it would be a terrible mistake to resort to those tactics, because what this administration has showed so far is nothing but good faith, and only a show of good faith from us will inspire them to take extra steps. Maybe it will happen in a few years, maybe it will take longer, but if you want this, well, there is a way that you can pursue this. Alright, so that's been our fireside chat about Indian football for this week. We're trying to go back to a weekly schedule, and next week we're going to feature an exclusive interview with former Aizawl FC head coach Paulo Menezes as we discuss how Indian football and football in other countries have been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, and we're also going to discuss how Indian football is going to look like in ISL, I League, state leagues when they return for the 2020-21 season. Wherever you are, stay safe. Make sure to like, share and subscribe, and stay crazy about Indian football.